Today is a pod day. And that just basically means that I'm going to be spending the day on the campsite in my GoPod. I'm not going out on a big hike, I'm not going for a big bike ride, I'm not going paddleboarding, etc. This is a relaxing day. Now, my previous vlog was a very, very long bike ride, which I was exhausted from. So I was very happy to have a pod day today. And since I haven't recorded one of these in a very long time, I thought it'd be good to just do a pod day episode. Now, there is a lot of voiceover in this vlog. I do talk a little bit, but it's mainly just me waffling on through a microphone. But everyone always asks why I weigh out my muesli for my breakfast, and that's mainly just through portion control because I'm a very greedy person, and each morning I could just put a little bit more in, a little bit more in, a little bit more in, and then next thing you know, I'm consuming 1,500 calories just for breakfast, so I just weigh it to make sure that I don't overindulge. But after sorting out the pod, I then head off to the facilities with my very big toiletry bag. So in most of my vlogs, I do not wear any makeup. At the most, I might have on the bare minimum, such as a bit of mascara or a bit of foundation. And the reason for this is that I just cannot apply makeup. And every time I try to do it, I just feel like a clown and I just feel as though I look silly. So my theory is that if I look after my skin, then I won't need to rely on makeup as much. Which is why I have such a big toiletry bag, because I carry around quite a collection of lotions and potions, just trying to make my skin look better on its own. So it takes me about 30 minutes in the morning in order for me to get dressed, brush my teeth, do my skincare, brush my hair, etc. And then it's back to the pod where I'm just putting on my coat and my shoes, and I'm going to be heading out for a casual morning walk. Now, I do this for a couple of reasons. One, it's routine now. I've done it for so many years, just getting up and taking Winston out for a walk, that I feel like I just have to do it. But also, when you're away in the pod and you're in such a small space, it's good to get out and to get my body moving and to get a little bit of fresh air. Oh, and also to take the rubbish and drop that off at the bins on the way. And then just to spend a little bit of time in nature. And I like to listen to a podcast. I can put a podcast on and just put one foot in front of the other and just keep walking. And it feels very meditative to me. I don't know if that makes sense. Now, I am a little bit of a geek, and some of my favourite podcasts that I like to listen to are financial podcasts. And the one that I would recommend to everybody is a podcast called This Is Money. It only brings out one episode a week. However, they break everything down really simply, and I also find it quite entertaining as well. But they'll go through everything from ISAs, LISAs, savings accounts, banking, tax rules, investments, stocks and shares, pensions, etc. So yeah, if you want to know more about personal finance, the podcast This Is Money is the one I would recommend to you. Now, I don't think I need to say this, but I'm obviously not sponsored by that podcast. I just really like it. But then it's back to the pod and my first shift of the day. So it's just coming up to 11 o'clock and I'm about to start work. And you might think, oh, that's not bad, starting work at 11. But I will let you know that I don't clock off at 5. So I'm going to be working now pretty much until bedtime. Of course, I'll be stopping for things like lunch and tea, etc. But this is me now for the day, just sat here working until I go to sleep. So I only have these nice relaxing days when I'm away in the pod and when I'm not getting up to go out on an adventure. I like to take these days a little bit slower, to get up, to enjoy my breakfast, to go out on a walk. And also the big adventure days I have, those are pretty full on. So I get up, I go out, I face whatever weather it is. I'm usually biking for miles or hiking for miles. It takes up a lot of energy. So it's nice when I'm not doing that to just have a little bit of a rest time, although I'm still being productive. After tapping away for a little bit, it's then time for lunch, and I'm just making myself a sandwich with some good old beef paste that we talked about in a previous episode, and a Greek yogurt. Right, so I'm just waiting for some shorts to upload. So I'm going to have my lunch, watch something on the iPad whilst the laptop does its thing. I don't know if you can hear, but the heater is on right below here because the weather outside now has got really cold. There's been rain, there's been a little bit of hail, and yeah, I've got the heating on because I just want to be nice and warm inside my little pod. I think I should have said Greek style yogurt and not Greek yogurt. I think in order for it to be Greek yogurt, I think it might have to be made in Greece or possibly by some traditional methods. But anyway, after my quick lunch, I then got back to work. And after a few hours of work, I then sort of slowly slip into computer geek mode, where I put my hood up and I get lost in my own little digital world. And then it's time for a very fun afternoon job, which is emptying the chemical toilet. Now, my chemical toilet tends to last me about 4 days, and a lot of people ask me if it smells, and in all honesty, it doesn't. And that's for 2 reasons. Firstly, it has chemicals in it, and secondly, I have a rule of no poos in the pod. Number 1s only. Right, so I've got a very big hike tomorrow and it involves an early start, so I'm just going to pre-pack what I can in my bag so that I'm ready for tomorrow. So these little afternoon jobs just help to break up the day. They stop me from feeling as though I am stuck in the pod for the whole 24 hours. They also stop me from sitting for very, very long periods. They help, just I get up and move around, get my circulation going again. It also means that when I do go back to work, I can concentrate better. There's something about like you work for so many hours, you go off and you do something else for a half hour, then you go back to work for a couple of hours again. And that's basically how I always structure my day, regardless of if I am away in the pod or even if I'm working at home. But as you can see, I've just put in another afternoon shift and now it's time for tea. As I'm editing this video, I've just noticed that I didn't eat particularly well that day. There's nothing bad, there's nothing that I would say don't eat, but it's just a lot of carbs. I didn't eat much protein, fibre, fruits and veggies. So yeah, probably could have been better. However, the day before I did have that very, very long bike ride, so maybe a lot of carbs was a good thing. And then this is my least favourite pod job, which is washing the pots, drying everything, putting it away. I just find it really awkward in such a small space and with such a small sink. I try and just leave it all and do it once at the end of the day rather than doing it multiple times throughout the day because I just really hate the job. I would much rather empty the chemical toilet than wash the pots. Now we're getting to the end of the day and it's time for me to convert my working area back into a sleeping area. And I know some people find this frustrating, which is why they much prefer to have caravans and motorhomes that have got fixed beds. And I completely get that, because if you leave this job until you are so tired that all you want to do is go to sleep, knowing that you have got to then convert your living area into a sleeping area can be very frustrating. But because I like to shower at night, I'm more of an evening shower person than a morning shower person. I convert it before I go for my shower. So I feel as though I've still got a little bit of energy left in me, and therefore that task isn't really as daunting. It takes 2 minutes. So yeah, I convert the pod, I go get a shower, I do my skincare routine, and that's when I will then go back into the pod and relax for the evening. Now, although I will occasionally watch a movie to relax, more often than not, I will read. And I'm not really into reading fictional stories. The books that I like to read are non-fiction books. So I want true stories of things that have actually happened, or I want a book that is going to teach me something. So on a subject that I want to know more about. But that wraps up my rest day in the pod, and I'll catch you guys on the next adventure.